So I was asked to help a dude to interleave and de-interleave Ford Strike's SIMM files, right? So you could open it in something like XCOPY and whatnot, and you'd be good, right? You'd be able to fuck with it. So here's how you set it up. First and foremost, I made this graphics stitcher a while back. This is the crux of how this is going to work. Specifically the 1.3 revision that allows you to interleave and append program data and whatnot. That's the thing that's going to come in handy. Because if we look at the Ford Strike files, right? Let's look at 10, right? Let's look at the first 4 bytes. They are 491141B1, right? And if you look at SIM10, the first byte is 49. If we look at the second one, it's 1141B1. So we can see what's happening here. Essentially, a byte is read from each of these files in sequence and then stitched together, right, to get our eventual interleaved file. For this example, we're going to actually add a new game to this. So we're going to grab Red Earth. We're going to go to wherever our stitcher is, and we're going to put our extracted ROM into where the stitcher is, right? Here we go. So in order to add this game, we're going to go to resources, and I'll have a link in the description for the latest build with these resources already there. But what we're going to do is we're going to take one that exists, so in this case set Street Fighter 3 4N, and we're going to change it specifically to the name of the ROM that we want. So if we look here, yeah. So how the script works, essentially, if you try to interleave or de-interleave a ROM, it will look in resources for a file of that ROM's name, right? So if we say Red Earth, it'll look in resources, okay, does redearth.py exist? Because that's responsible for all of our, our variables and all the file names and all that jazz. Okay, let's grab Red Earth and have a look. System, CPS3. This is usually for graphics interleaving and whatnot, just so the stitcher knows what to do. But for CPS3, that's not graphics supported yet, so we don't need to worry about it. We look at Red Earth, you can see there are 4 files here, and they all start with redearth-sim, and then it's 1.0, the 1.1, the 1.3. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this, and we're going to go to here. You see where it says pref, so prefix. So in this case, we say Red Earth SIMM. Now, when we actually read these files, what happens is we make a table called PRG prefix. And for I in range, so it starts at 0, and then it goes up until we reach 4. So as many are in this group, we make a value called string imp, and it's specifically string. We pass in a value here, 1 dot, and we pass in a value here. So we format this with prefix and then I. So what this will do is it'll create a new string and use those variables as we put them in. So prefix is redearth-sim, right? So that's where pref would be. Then 1 dot, and then whatever the value of I is. So initially, it'll start at 0, and then 1, and then etc., 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 until we have the whole group done, right? This just saves a bit of time, And what it does is it updates that table with that specific ROM name, right? So redearth sim 10, 11, 12, etc., right? It updates it with that so that when the stitcher reads it, it'll know what those ROMs are called. It'll know what to look for. Program group size 4, we know that. Grab size is 1 because, of course, we referenced this from earlier. It's a byte from each of these files, right? Placed into 10. Now ROM size. ROM size is how big an individual ROM is in this group. So in this case, it's 2048 kilobytes. So I think this value is actually correct. We can just leave it as is. So, assuming we did everything correctly, we should be golden. That should just work. We run this as a Python file. Something to note, you can actually run this, just natively from wherever you're chilling. If you have Python files associated with whatever Python you have installed. Yeah. So I have it set up to Python, so when I click on this, it'll automatically run it as a Python script. So you should see a little text here. Yeah. Red Earth. So we load in the ROM. Cool. So what it does is it says, okay, that's the name of the ROM. Does it have graphics? No, it doesn't. Do you interleave PRG? Yes. And then it checks for those de-interleaved program ROMs, like if they exist, right? So it looks in our ROMs folder at the folder Red Earth. And then it checks if those files, SIM1, 0, blah, 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 if all of them exist. Okay, just make sure. Okay, so we have two options here. We can either interleave them, which is sticking them all together in order to make those 10 files that we want, those sweet, juicy, delicious files that we want. We'll do that right quick. So 1. So when that's done, we should be able to go to Stitcher, interleave data, and then Red Earth interleaved PRG. We can open this in whatever we want. Yeah, we can see that it went through. So here's the gimmick. Since it's a CPS3 game, we can actually use 2007. I notice there's some weirdness with CPS2 games. I'm not really sure why, but I can never really get it to work for me personally. So I would use 2009 for CPS2 games and 2007 for CPS3 just because it's more comfy. So we open CPS3 and then whatever our ROM is. So Red Earth 6000 because it's the first, bit of program data. And look at that. We have all that sweet, delicious, juicy data that we want. Now we can make whatever changes we want. And then when we're done, we can go back to the Stitcher. I can actually show this better if I do this. So let's get rid of literally everything. Kill it all. Don't need it. Load this up. Red Earth. It tells you, oi, those don't exist. But that's fine. We do have interleaved data, right? So we can de-interleave it. So what that will do is it'll reverse the process. It'll take that big file and it'll split them all back into those individual SIMMs that we looked at before, right? So if we look at ROMs, Red Earth, there they are. There's the boys. Hope this was helpful.